influence.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I can
and
see
here,
it.
the last part of knowledge or mythology that I was kind of intrigued when I found this is that originally described as, this is the original depiction of the early days of vampires in novels.
Right.
Is that they're described as bloated,
Yeah.
ruddy or of dark countenance, the total opposite of today's modern gout, pale depiction from the early 19th century.
Oh, skinny,
a
good
total
looking,
flip
just a pimp
of what they were
Exactly.
originally described. Why?
They
Well,
turned
because it
them-
would just be a lot more better for the eye. easy
Yeah,
on the eyes,
it's a better narrative. You know
Some
what I
guys
mean?
got it though, but yeah, no, he went from the worst thing you've ever seen in the world with Nosferatu. Then he turned into some suave.
Oh, fucking no! Seriously, like, why isn't this spoken of enough?
Yeah.
Like, Dracula literally is the biggest pimp in the
Yeah,
world.
he's
straight up luring girls in.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the question we were having earlier. Does he fuck them or he goes straight for the blood?
Well,
Yeah.
here's the funny
like,
thing.
like
They
what a
never showed.
letdown. She's like, oh.
Here's
like,
the funny
can I-
thing. In the
Can
early,
I get some of that
the early depictions,
100,000-year-old dick? That
the
knows how to do
Romania,
shit?
all that shit. When they say they were bloated and dark and ruddy and all that, they were bottom dwellers in society. They
Yeah.
were like living on the
Bums.
streets, bums. So they would feed off of that and they would look like
fucking
shit.
castle.
They
Yeah.
turned them into millionaires, highfalutin, high society,
But
Yeah.
check it.
like leaders and
Think
whatnot.
of the
you know?
concept of it.
Yeah.
You live forever. You can't die except
Yeah.
from what sunlight and a cross, something resembling Jesus Christ or the Holy Trinity, right?
Steaks.
So other than that, you can't die.
Yeah.
How could you fail in life if you lived for like 50,000 years? Seriously, that would be. They should make a movie of that. The dumbest, worst vampire ever. That like you lived that long and you just fucking sat around and did nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you that long, and you didn't go and create a Fortune 500 company, or you didn't fucking finish
Play
a
the stock
war, or
market.
became a tyrant, or fucking had like 9 million children. Like, come on.
Yeah.
You live that long. There's no excuse.
No.
There's
You know,
fucking excuse.
I just
So,
realized-
the narrative is you're gonna be a pimp.
I just
Yeah.
realized
You're gonna be
they
the
did
baddest
take
motherfucker.
they did
Yeah,
take
should
one
be.
thing from
Should
Vlad.
be.
They took one thing from Vlad the Impaler. Instead of sticking the wood
What,
up his
tyrant?
ass,
Oh, he
they just stuck it in his heart.
Hey,
You know what I
there
mean?
go. Hey,
They're
that-
like, the ass thing is a little kind of nuts. Let's just
No, but
let's
that's
just
what
put it
makes
right
it
in the
fun.
heart. It's sweet. Oh, my heart's dead.
But check it. Back to
Yeah.
Vlad, even in modern film, like, do you remember in 300, there was that scene where they were walking by and everyone was impaled?
Impaled.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying, like, there's all kinds of nods to
Yeah.
Vlad and shit like that that has nothing to do with Dracula and shit like that through film.
Yeah.
As it's gone on through history.
The Persians, when they ran everything, they were doing
yeah.
that.
Same
Genghis
shit.
Khan was impaling people.
Right.
You know?
Just stick it up the ass.
Yeah,
See
when
what
you
happens.
find holes, just shove shit in it. You
Yeah.
know?
That always makes a man cringe.
How we've evolved.
Moving on from Nosferatu as the origin, then I don't know, guys. What we go right into Bela
Bela.
Lugosi. You got to.
Yeah.
Well, this is.
You
I
got
think we
stuff.
should go through the list because there's lists of movies, and a lot of them, I'll be honest, haven't really seen because I didn't realize
lot.
there was these many vampire
There's a
movies,
lot.
man.
There's a lot of rubbish.
And they did so much in the '60s, '70s.
They had the same thing that
Ridiculous.
we have with our generation with zombies.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
had that with vampires decades before. They
Right.
had that boom where just everybody was making a vampire
the
film.
trend set
Yeah,
in.
that was a big trend where it was just everywhere.
But I mean, besides Bela Lugosi and Dracula in 1931, which
Yeah,
is a classic.
great movie. Yeah, great
Todd
movie.
Browning, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Besides that,
Christopher Lee,
War
man.
of Dracula might be the fucking quintessential Dracula film.
Well, of
possibly.
old style, you're
Well,
talking
no,
about.
1958. I mean, you're talking Peter Cushing, you're talking Christopher Lee. You know, this was all about where you know, Van Helsing and that whole you know,
The violence.
Yes.
And sexuality with the women. That's
this
what.
is a classic film.
Yeah.
Not being able to love, you know,
Right.
Like
Yeah,
not
but-
wanting to hurt her.
Exactly, feeling
Yeah.
his pain, being like, oh well, that's
They
horrible, you kill
romanticized
people,
it.
but-
Well, it's when
Exactly.
they turned it into
Exactly.
something so horrific and barbaric, and they just romanticized it.
Putting your feet in
Put
someone
a,
else's
put a
shoes.
dick in put a D in a V, and then now you can make money. you know?
I that's cool, but my thing was always I love the violence in that. Like Hammer brought it.
Oh,
Hammer
fuck
brought it.
yeah,
Hammer
dude.
wasn't like
Hammer-
afraid to.
Hammer brought it, and
Bella
we
didn't have
love
any of
Hammer.
that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
He-
Well, and that was all Christopher Lee.
yeah.
That was our Hammer god, if you will. was fucking Christopher Lee.
And he did them all. Horror, The Prince, the
You know,
Satanic
I mean,
Rites. He was in all of them.
Yep.
He has to be the top two Dracula of all
he
time.
did the later one in the 70s.
If not one.
What was it? The Taste the Blood of Dracula.
Yeah, I don't think of him as anything else but Dracula. Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean that's
Even though later he played in
lots of
Star
things,
Wars
yes.
as fucking. Guess what, guys? Count Dooku.
Yeah.
Well, no, he purposely.
cool.
George
Well,
Lucas
I know,
was like, we
I
gotta.
know, but that word fits as
It's
a
cool.
as a
That was
Sith.
cool.
It
It
fits
is,
as a
yeah.
That was
Sith,
cool.
and it's like,
That's an
guys,
awesome
this
ode,
is fucking
you know?
Dracula royalty.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
That was rad.
perfect.
I remember watching Horror of Dracula probably on Commander USA or some up all night show, but I didn't get into the rest until later, like all the other with what Hammer had to offer. But I remember watching the horror because I remember some scenes from it from when I was a kid. But it was a Saturday night show,
And it was on.
or Commander USA during the day, whatever it was,
What about you guys? Remember Lust of the Vampire?
Yeah, see
Yeah.
those.
57.
Yeah, those
1957.
that series is.
That's is that a talent?
Yeah, but guys, remember we all went
It's Hammer.
back and
No,
watched
Hammer.
this
Yeah.
shit. We all went back and watched
Yeah.
this. Like we spent summers of going
The
through.
yeah.
Scars of Dracula.
I went through a whole phase of just buying every single one I could get.
Son of Dracula.
We went through a Hammer
That's
phase.
actually
Yeah.
Son of
Just Hammer
Dracula is
film.
fucking old. 1943.
But the ones Lust for Vampire, there's Countess Blood or Dracula or something, and then Twins of Evil and another Hammer
Yep,
one.
Twins of
that's,
Evil,
That's,
yep.
that's all in its own series with the same character, and she's supposed to be kind of a Bathore kind of a character, which is another thing like Vlad, where they took a legend from a long time ago and changed it, because she didn't drink blood. She's just killing virgins from the fucking villages,
Right.
but it didn't have anything to do with what they turned her into. I mean, she was a giant piece of shit. She was a fucking monster, but
I don't remember this movie. You guys remember this one from 79 Thirst?
Yes.
Yeah. Bowie, right?
Oh,
that the David Bowie one?
Oh,
I think
okay.
so.
I think so. It's one of those ones that
It's like a horror mystery.
honestly, like I watched. And
But again, romanticizing like there was.
yeah, we just have different tastes, and like there's certain like things that are like going to be very important to some people, and I might offend them by saying that I wasn't into it, but. There's a lot of movies from the old days of vampires that I just wasn't into. Like I wanted to see a whole different kind of,
or pertain to the classics at least.
Yeah, I'll take Nosferatu and Bela Lugosi's Dracula just because it's classic,
Iconic,
and it's
you know?
there's some scary shit in it, but like
Well, and the soundtrack just made it even better. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It stood the test of time. And this one right here, a lot of people probably won't know, but thanks to my mom, who randomly one Christmas got me a DVD box set from like fucking Walden Books or some shit, and The Last Man on Earth,
yeah,
Oh,
and
God.
that
black and white.
Yeah,
Which was a book, right?
Some of you may know it as I Am Legend from the Will Smith
Right.
movie.
It's a book, but then later became.
No, 1964.
Yeah.
And when I saw that Christmas morning years ago, I watched it. I was like, holy fuck.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is exactly what Matt told
It's
me
a
about.
total
Yeah.
vampire film. That's what people don't get.
Yeah.
But it
His
gets
neighbor was just
it gets passed
taunting
off
him.
as an apocalypse, like end of the world film, which it is. But it was
Well, they don't
basically
even
just
mention vampires in it either.
No,
They just
but-
call them the undead,
Yeah.
right.
you know?
But that's what he's said that's what he was going for. His thing was based on
Yeah.
the work of Bram Stoker. But that is my favorite of and I still read that book.
Of the books,
Like I'll
yeah.
still read that book. Like I love that book.
Okay,
Man,
so
that book is
here's an
shit.
interesting debate then.
Yeah.
Like, could it also be held into the zombie genre?
Yes, that
Right?
That's the
And
thing
the
that
apocalyptic end of the world zombie genre.
that's the thing that the later movie with
Smith.
Will Smith that's what they turned him into.
Because it gets
but
lumped into that. That's how they view it as.
Yeah.
But like those
They weren't.
right who read
They're
the
not
book
stuck
and who
in your
knows
blood.
is like they're actual.
They're not sucking your blood. They're killing you, but they're just raging out.
Yeah.
And
Right.
they can't be in the sun, you know?
Right.
If you look at the original
Well,
book,
that was the telltale sign, right? In the movie, that they couldn't touch or face the
exactly.
sun.
Yeah,
That's
they didn't have
that's
fangs,
vampire.
though. They didn't
Yeah.
have fangs. They wasn't the normal fangs or anything. They were just
You don't need
depleted.
fangs to bite the shit out of
the way what he was doing is the original book is he would go around during the day and kill them while they slept, which they weren't sleeping, they were awake. They would look
Right.
at him while he did it, but he would stake them through the heart.
Right.
And so, and the sunlight thing, yeah, that leads you to believe that he was going for the vampire thing. But yeah, they do get it confused with zombies, definitely. I mean, that's I mean, they kind of are. It's kind of like a twist between the two, but
Right.
I honestly like a piece of not
awesome.
that was one of the only movies that I really wanted to walk out during was the Will Smith. I remember telling you guys, like, I'm going to
Yeah,
leave.
yeah,
You were like,
yeah.
dude, you paid like $10 to see something, you're going to leave? And I was like, yeah, probably. I'll stay. But I'm a purist for that book. I mean, that book, I champion that book. I love that book. I read it. I read it when I was young. I own several copies of it. And
Well,
it's just a
it's-
killer story,
it's-
man.
Yeah, it
Right,
is.
and it's also timeless. It's old,
Yeah.
so it's like it's.
But the one thing
stood-
they don't even mention, they do a slight nod to in the Will Smith one.
Yeah.
But when the neighbor's constantly taunting him,
Yeah.
Well,
and he
that's-
sends the
that's his-
women,
yeah,
he
it's
sends
his
the
neighbor.
women to him, and he tries to seduce them.
Great
and in
ideas.
the black and white, the original in the '64 movie,
Yeah.
he gets tempted
Yeah.
real hard, man.
Is that? I mean, hello, people. Is that another nod that that's not a zombie?
Yeah.
Like to have the intelligence
Well, he's
of
talking with
seducing,
them.
right?
Yeah, he's talking with
Well,
them.
the-
He's all,
That's a
what is his
vampire.
name in it too? It's the famous
Fucking
line. He's all.
vampire.
He's all, "Hey."
Tramer.
Yeah.
No, not Tramer. That's Halloween 2.
And
Damn,
plus, he's not a
Ben-
doctor. His wife's the doctor in the book, right?
In the book,
the
he's
book.
an alcoholic, and he just drinks at
and he
night.
reads doctor
Well, they
medical
still
books.
kind of keep that. with
So
Will
that's
Smith. They
so that's
still
what.
kinda keep that
So
part.
he quits drinking. He sobers himself up. He teaches himself science. He doesn't even know what a microscope is. So he goes and he reads a whole book and studies. I mean, he's got so much time. So he studies, learns everything,
Yes,
everything
the time we have.
in the. What's cool also is that he would go around and steal artwork. I thought, which was so rad.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
may have been in the Will Smith movie,
No,
but like,
no. He rented videos. That's pretty much all he did.
But there would be like Rembrandt, it'd be like paintings in his house.
That's
from-
exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
I would be like, Jesus, really? I can have access to Salvador Dali original?
Yeah, but
Mine.
but by you were saying talking to them, what the woman at the end turned out to be in the book. Spoiler alert: she was an evolved vampire. So
Right.
they had like two different types. They had the dirt
The worker bees, if
yeah,
you will.
the ones that were just kind of, and I guess they did that with zombies later in like Land of the Dead and shit. But
Or
these
Army of
new
Darkness.
these new vampires could be in the sun. They looked like they look like regular people, but they were pissed at him
Right.
because he's going around killing all their fucking family members. So they
Daywalkers,
tricked
huh?
him, and they went and they brought him in and they killed him. So, but it was a great man.
Well,
To
it's
the
a
end of
legendary
the book.
It's
Yeah.
a legendary book, a legendary story.
But so that was Last Man on Earth was good.
Yeah.
The
Right.
Omega Man with
Omega
Charlton
Man.
Heston
Yep,
was
that's
another
on
one
this
that
list. Yep.